###. The traveler does not know the name of the city. Perhaps no one does anymore. It stretches beneath a pale evening sky, a silent landscape of broken towers, empty roads, and windows that no longer hold the light. Footsteps echo between the buildings, then fade into the wind. Once, these streets were filled with voices. Trains moved beneath the ground. Water flowed through hidden pipes. Music drifted from rooms high above the city. Now trees rise through the pavement. Roots lift the roads. Vines climb forgotten walls. Birds nest in rooms that once belonged to people whose names are no longer spoken. The traveler stops before a great building. Faded shapes remain above its entrance. Perhaps they were letters. Perhaps they once formed a name known by millions. But rain has softened them, and time has taken their meaning. Who built this place? What did they believe? Did they know their world would become so quiet? Only fragments remain. Broken glass. A rusted frame. A faded image beneath fallen stone. A dark tunnel leading toward stations where no train has arrived for centuries. Perhaps the people who lived here believed their civilization would last forever. Their cities were too large. Their knowledge too great. Their records too numerous. Surely something so vast could never disappear. And yet it did. This city is not Babylon. It is not Rome, Knossos, or an ancient Maya city beneath the forest. It is ours. The broken towers were our towers. The silent roads were our roads. The traveler is walking through our future. And to them, we are ancient. We are the forgotten civilization. It is only an imagined scene. There is no certainty that our cities will meet such a fate. Yet the image feels familiar because civilizations rarely imagine themselves as temporary. While markets are busy, temples are tended, and roads are crowded, the world seems permanent. Its customs feel natural. Its walls appear strong. Its monuments are built for generations not yet born. Every civilization believes it lives inside a world that is complete. A person standing beside the canals of ancient Uruk did not think of himself as a figure from the distant past. He was modern. Around him were workshops, boats, storehouses, temples, and crowded streets. Scribes pressed signs into clay. Merchants carried goods from distant lands. People recorded debts, grain, offerings, and prayers. They watched the rivers and followed the seasons. To them, history was not waiting to begin. They stood inside it. Across Mesopotamia, cities rose above fields and waterways. Uruk, Ur, Lagash, Eridu, and Nippur belonged to a world of farms, roads, kingdoms, and sacred centers. Some of their names survive. Others are known only from broken tablets. Some may have vanished without leaving a name at all. Mud brick could build a city, but it could not resist time forever. When buildings were abandoned, rain softened their walls. Wind carried dust into empty rooms. New structures rose above old foundations. Slowly, a city became a mound. Centuries later, someone could walk across it without knowing that kitchens, courtyards, and shrines rested beneath their feet. This is how worlds often disappear. Not in one sudden moment. A river changes direction. Trade moves elsewhere. Families leave. Roofs collapse. Sand gathers against the walls. A city that once seemed eternal becomes a quiet hill beneath the sun. Along the Nile, the Egyptians placed their hope in stone. They raised temples, carved names into walls, painted stars across ceilings, and built monuments meant to endure. Many survived. But even Egypt could not preserve everything. Tombs were forgotten. Temples disappeared beneath villages and fields. Palaces returned to dust. The workers who shaped the stones and raised children beside the river left only scattered traces. Even when a monument survives, the world around it can vanish. A temple without music, incense, prayer, and footsteps is no longer the place its builders knew. Stone may remain. Meaning is more fragile. For centuries, people could see Egyptian hieroglyphs but could no longer read them. The signs remained. Birds. Eyes. Hands. Crowns. Yet the voices inside them had fallen silent. The builders left messages for the future, only for the future to forget how to listen. Farther east, the Indus Valley civilization built carefully arranged cities at places such as Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and Dhalavira. Their streets, bricks, wells, drains, and workshops reveal a skilled urban world. Small seals carry animals and lines of writing. That writing remains undeciphered. Perhaps the signs record names, goods, prayers, or titles. We can see them. But we cannot hear them. The people of those cities were not silent in their own time. Their streets held conversation, laughter, trade, songs, and evening stories. Yet the sound of their language has disappeared so completely that even its name is uncertain. The city remains. The voice is gone. Nothing there would have seemed mysterious to the people who lived within it. They understood their buildings and symbols. Their world made sense. It is mysterious only to us. And our own world might seem just as strange if enough of its meaning were lost. The Indus cities did not disappear in one dramatic moment. Populations shifted. Rivers changed. People adapted and moved. They carried pieces of their world with them. A way of shaping clay. A method of measuring grain. A ritual. A song. Civilizations are not single beings that suddenly die. They are families, skills, languages, and memories. The city may vanish while parts of its life continue elsewhere. On Crete, the Minoans built palaces near harbors and painted their rooms with plants, animals, and scenes of the sea. Ships carried goods and stories between distant shores. The sea was not an empty space. It was a road. The Minoans left behind a writing system now called Linear A. It remains undeciphered. Once again, discovery has not brought complete understanding. The marks survive. The thought behind them remains distant. Later Greek myths connected Crete with King Minos and the labyrinth. These stories are not direct records of Minoan history. But myth sometimes grows around the ruins of older worlds. A confusing palace may become a labyrinth. A forgotten ritual may become a tale of gods and heroes. The past does not always disappear. Sometimes it dreams itself into legend. In ancient China, cities rose beside rivers that brought fertile soil and destructive floods. Bronze inscriptions and oracle bones preserve questions about harvests, journeys, weather, and ancestors. Would the crops grow? Would rain come? Would a journey be safe? The words belong to another age, yet the questions feel familiar. Archaeology has revealed societies older and more complex than later written histories once suggested. This does not mean every legend is hidden fact. It means writing began after human history was already ancient. Before the oldest surviving chronicle were generations of families, settlements, ceremonies, and forgotten leaders. The unwritten past remains in soil, seeds, tools, charcoal, bones, and vanished walls. Across the ocean, the Maya built cities shaped by forests, rivers, seasons, and the sky. Temples rose above plazas. Scribes painted books. Farmers managed land and water. Astronomers observed the heavens. Some cities declined while others flourished. Some were abandoned and slowly covered by forest. Roots entered the stones. Leaves gathered on stairways. Rain fell across empty plazas. Yet the Maya did not vanish. Maya communities, languages, and traditions continue today. What disappeared were particular cities and political systems. A ruined city is not the same as an extinct people. People move. They adapt. They rebuild. Sometimes a civilization changes so completely that later generations mistake transformation for disappearance. The forest may cover the palace, but descendants still live beneath the same rain. Rome also imagined permanence. Its roads crossed mountains and plains. Aqueducts carried water. Ships filled its harbors. Laws and institutions connected distant territories. Rome called itself eternal. And parts of it survived. Its languages changed but continued. Its roads guided newer roads. Its buildings became churches, homes, workshops, and fortifications. But the Roman world did not remain as its citizens knew it. Borders shifted. Governments changed. Cities became smaller or took new forms. There was no single morning when everyone awoke and found Rome gone. The old world became the new world slowly. A public hall became housing. A statue lost its name. An inscription became part of a staircase. Children played beside ruins whose original purpose was forgotten. A civilization can fade while people continue living among its stones. A ruin is not always hidden. Sometimes it stands in the center of town. People pass it every day. They reuse its materials. After enough generations, the extraordinary becomes part of the ordinary landscape. Ancient roads lie beneath modern roads. New sacred buildings stand above older places of worship. One world survives inside another, separated by no more than a buried doorway or a floor beneath a floor. Archaeology continues to uncover settlements whose names are unknown. Foundations lie beneath fields. Walls hide beneath forests. Ancient harbors rest far from modern shores. Sometimes old texts preserve a name. Sometimes stories preserve a memory. Sometimes nothing remains except the ground. The earth keeps small impressions. A wooden post leaves a dark stain. A fire changes the color of clay. A seed survives in a sealed room. A broken bowl rests where someone last placed it. These were not intended as messages. They survived by chance. Yet through them, ordinary life returns. A meal prepared. A tool sharpened. A wall repaired. A child carried through a doorway. Civilizations are not made only of monuments and rulers. They are made of ordinary mornings. Someone swept a floor. Someone waited beside a river. Someone looked toward distant hills and wondered whether rain would come. The mystery is not only why civilizations fall. It is how so much life becomes invisible. A city may remain busy for centuries, then become a few broken walls and faint changes in the soil. The past is not gone. It has become quiet. It waits beneath fields, towns, ash, sand, mud, and fallen leaves. When archaeologists open a trench, they move downward and backward at the same time. An old wall appears. Then another floor. Then ash. Then pottery from an earlier age. Then a street no one has walked for thousands of years. Every layer was once the surface. Every layer was once the present. Perhaps history is not a road extending behind us. Perhaps it is the earth itself. Layer upon layer. A floor beneath a floor. A city beneath a city. One generation becoming the ground beneath another. Every generation feels modern. Uruk was modern when its walls were new. Egypt was modern when its temples were bright with paint. Mohenjo-daro was modern when water moved through its drains. Rome was modern when crowds filled its streets. Modernity is simply the feeling of standing in the present. And permanence may be the shadow that feeling creates. Our cities glow at night and appear almost impossible to erase. We preserve more words and images than any earlier civilization. Surely a world that records so much cannot be forgotten. Yet older societies trusted their materials too. Clay seemed durable. Stone seemed permanent. Sacred traditions seemed impossible to lose. Still, languages became unreadable. Libraries disappeared. Cities were buried. Time does not need to destroy everything. It only needs to break the connections. A symbol survives, but its meaning is lost. A building survives, but its name is forgotten. A road remains, but no one knows where it led. The pieces are still there. The pattern is gone. Perhaps that is what it means for a civilization to be forgotten. The traveler bends and lifts a small dark object from the grass. Once, it held more information than an ancient library. Now it is silent. Nearby, a tree has grown through the roof of a ruined station. Rainwater gathers on the steps. Faded names remain on a wall, though their destinations are no longer known. The traveler listens. Wind. Leaves. A bird among the upper floors. The city is peaceful now. Its urgency has ended. What remains is not simply a failure. It is a layer. A human world that lived, changed, and became part of the earth. We do not know how many earlier worlds have already disappeared. We do not know how many communities built from wood, reeds, and earth, leaving only faint traces. We do not know how many settlements now rest beneath rivers or seas. The archaeological record is not a complete book. It contains missing pages, unreadable languages, and entire lives represented by a single object in the darkness. Night settles over the city. The towers become shadows beneath the stars. The traveler follows a road covered with grass. Beneath the street are tunnels. Beneath the tunnels may be older foundations belonging to cities that stood there before our own. One layer resting upon another. One age becoming the ground beneath the next. The traveler cannot know how loudly this city once spoke. Only that it is silent now. And as the wind moves through its forgotten halls, one quiet question remains. If so many civilizations disappeared from memory, might ours one day become another forgotten layer beneath the soil? ###. Morning arrives slowly over the imagined ruins. Pale light gathers between the towers, touching broken glass, damp stone, and leaves growing through the streets. The traveler has gone. Only the city remains beneath the open sky. Yet below those silent roads, deeper worlds may still be waiting. Older foundations beneath the foundations. Earlier streets beneath the tunnels. Fragments of buildings that stood here before the towers rose. Human beings rarely build upon empty ground. We settle beside rivers that carried earlier boats. We follow paths worn by older footsteps. We place new walls where forgotten walls once stood. Wherever people remain long enough, the earth begins to gather their lives in layers. A floor is covered with dust. A wall is leveled. Another house rises above it. A new generation arrives. Another road crosses the same place. What once stood beneath the sun enters darkness, not because it sinks, but because life continues above it. In many ancient regions, centuries of rebuilding created artificial hills known as tells. From a distance, such a mound may appear natural. Grass covers its slopes. Rain cuts shallow channels along its sides. But within it are settlements resting one above another. Rooms. Hearths. Courtyards. Pottery. Ash. Tools. Traces of people who once believed they stood upon the surface of the world. To excavate such a place is to travel through time by moving through soil. The upper layers are recent. Below them are older walls. Then earlier floors and forgotten streets. But the past is not arranged like a perfect library. Later builders cut through older rooms. Stones are reused. Water shifts objects. Roots enter abandoned floors. The earth remembers, but its memories are folded and incomplete. Archaeology begins with patience. A thin layer of soil is removed. Its color changes. A straight edge appears where no natural line should be. A fragment of pottery catches the light. The digging slows. A doorway emerges. A bench. A wall darkened by an old fire. A room where grain was stored. The vanished world does not return completely. Its voices, smells, and private thoughts are gone. But slowly, its shape becomes visible again. Sometimes the past appears beneath a living city. A road is repaired, revealing an older road. Foundations are opened, and walls from another age emerge. A pipe is laid, and workers find pottery beneath the street. In cities across the world, people walk above temples, workshops, homes, and roads whose names have not been spoken for centuries. A modern building may stand over a medieval structure. Below that, a house or sanctuary from antiquity. Beneath that, traces of something earlier still. The city did not vanish and begin again. It changed while remaining in place. One age entered the rooms of another. Walls found new purposes. Columns were moved. Monuments became ordinary building stone. In such places, the past is not behind the city. It is inside it. Imagine standing in a silent building while moonlight enters through a high window. The floor seems solid and final. But below it may be another floor. Below that, older foundations. And beneath them, the earth where people gathered before any monument existed. A single place may contain thousands of years of memory. On a dry hill in southeastern Turkey stand some of the oldest known monumental structures yet discovered. The place is called Göbekli Tepe. Its great T-shaped pillars were carved more than 11,000 years ago, long before the famous kingdoms and cities of later antiquity. Some pillars carry images of animals. Snakes. Foxes. Wild boar. Birds. They were shaped during a time when communities in the region were changing how they hunted, gathered, settled, and eventually produced food. Göbekli Tepe altered how many people imagined the distant past. Large monuments had often been strongly associated with established farming societies. But here, people gathered, planned, carved, and moved heavy stone earlier than many had expected. What these structures meant remains uncertain. They may have served ritual, social, ceremonial, or communal purposes. Archaeology can study the pillars. It can examine the carvings and the material found around them. But it cannot ask the builders why they chose that hill. It cannot hear the story spoken there beneath the stars. We may imagine firelight moving across the carved animals. We may picture people arriving from distant valleys while evening settles across the land. But these are possibilities. The pillars are evidence. The vanished experience surrounding them remains a mystery. And perhaps that is enough. Not every ancient place must surrender all its meaning. Some can remain partly silent, holding the outline of a world without revealing every thought that once lived inside it. The wind still crosses the hill. The stone still catches the fading light. Long after the people disappeared, the place remains. Another human world has become part of the ground. Far to the west, beneath volcanic layers in southern Italy, Pompeii preserves a very different kind of memory. The city stood beside the Bay of Naples, beneath Mount Vesuvius. In the year 79, an eruption buried Pompeii and nearby communities. Many lives were lost. Yet the volcanic material also sealed streets, homes, shops, painted rooms, gardens, and ordinary objects beneath the earth. Centuries later, excavation revealed a city with unusual intimacy. Wheel marks remained in stone roads. Messages survived upon walls. Bread ovens stood where bakers had worked. Fountains marked neighborhood crossings. Painted rooms opened around quiet courtyards. Pompeii was not perfectly frozen in a single instant. Some buildings were being repaired after earlier earthquakes. Objects had been moved. The city had already been changing before the eruption. Still, it allows the ancient world to feel close. A room still resembles a room. A road still leads somewhere. A doorway invites us to imagine someone returning home. Great temples can make ancient people appear distant. But a kitchen, a worn step, a scratched message, or a cup beside a wall brings them quietly near again. These were people who repaired cracks, waited for customers, decorated their homes, prepared meals, listened to rain against the roof. Their world is ancient to us. To them, it was simply today. Walk through Pompeii in the imagination as evening approaches. The streets grow cooler. Shadows lengthen beneath the doorways. Beyond the roofs, the mountain rests against the sky. Nothing in the stones explains what the future will bring. The city feels complete. Its people live inside the present, as all people do. Then the world above them changes, and the city becomes a layer. Rooms disappear beneath ash. Familiar streets leave the sunlight. For centuries, silence fills the houses. Yet beneath the silence, small details remain. Not merely the architecture of a city, but the texture of ordinary life. This is one of archaeology's quiet gifts. It does not return the dead to us. But sometimes it allows an ancient doorway to open just wide enough for us to recognize the lives beyond it. Farther east, across the broad plains and changing rivers of South Asia, the cities of the Indus Valley tell another story. Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Dhalavira, and many smaller settlements formed an urban world spread across a vast region. Their planned streets, wells, standardized bricks, workshops, reservoirs, and drainage systems reveal knowledge gathered and refined across generations. Yet much remains unknown. The signs written upon Indus seals have not been convincingly deciphered. No readable royal inscriptions explain who governed the cities or what their people called themselves. Their buildings are visible. Their voices remain hidden. At Dhalavira, reservoirs and channels collected precious water in a dry and seasonal landscape. The city was shaped by its relationship with the environment. Water was stored, guided, and carefully used. And when rivers, rainfall, trade, and patterns of settlement changed, people adapted. The great Indus cities did not disappear in one sudden moment. Some places lost population. Settlements shifted. Trade routes altered. Rivers moved. People traveled elsewhere. Life continued, though not in the same form. This pattern appears throughout history. A civilization can fade from monumental view while its people continue beyond the city. The administrative system ends. The streets grow quieter. The wells are no longer repaired. But families remain. They move toward water. Change their crops. Carry customs into other places. Speak familiar words within languages slowly becoming new. The city may be forgotten while fragments of its world survive. Perhaps this is how civilizations most often disappear. Not by vanishing entirely. By becoming scattered. A building method travels with a craft worker. A story moves with a family. A ritual is performed under another name. A word survives after its original city is gone. The walls return to dust, but parts of the world within them continue walking. When wind passes through the empty streets of an Indus city today, it moves between wells no one uses and doorways whose builders left no readable explanation. The silence feels deep. Yet it is not empty. Every brick belonged to a system of knowledge. Every drain reflects practical care. Every worn surface remembers movement. The civilization is not entirely lost. It has simply become difficult to hear. Elsewhere, lost voices survive in brief flashes. At ancient Ugarit, clay tablets carried myths, letters, and records through thousands of years of silence. At Akrotiri, volcanic material preserved painted rooms from the Bronze Age. Beneath shallow seas, genuine harbors and settlements have been found where coastlines shifted or the land slowly sank. These places remind us that history can be hidden by clay, ash, water, or the simple rebuilding of one generation above another. But the most complete lost landscapes may lie beneath the sea itself. During the last ice age, sea levels were much lower than they are today. Great quantities of water were held within ice sheets. Coastlines stretched farther outward, and lands now divided by water were once connected. As the climate warmed and the ice melted, the sea slowly rose. Plains became wetlands. Valleys became bays. Ancient coastlines disappeared beneath the waves. One of the best known of these lost landscapes is Doggerland. It once connected Britain with continental Europe across what is now the southern North Sea. Doggerland was not a hidden empire. It was not a city of marble towers. It was a broad landscape of rivers, marshes, woods, and open plains inhabited by hunter-gatherer communities over many generations. People traveled across it. They followed rivers, gathered plants, hunted animals, made camps upon ground that no longer exists above the sea. Tools and bones have been recovered from the North Sea. Modern mapping has revealed ancient river channels and landforms beneath the seabed. The evidence shows that the landscape was real. But much of the human story remains beyond reach. Imagine dawn over a plain where gray water now moves. A river bends through reeds. Mist rests above its banks. Footprints appear in soft earth. A family travels beneath a sky reflected in quiet pools. Around them are forests no modern map records. The landscape feels permanent. Yet across generations, the water advances. Salt enters the lowlands. Wetlands widen. Familiar places become islands. Then shoals. Then seabed. No single person watches the entire landscape disappear. The change unfolds across many lives. Grandparents remember land that children know only as water. Paths once crossed on foot become stories told beside a different shore. Doggerland is supported by archaeology and geology. But the true evidence does not reveal an unknown advanced kingdom. It reveals something quieter and perhaps more moving. Human beings once lived within a landscape that has vanished from the visible world. Their rivers now lie beneath waves. Their camps rest beneath sediment. Their horizon has become the open sea. Doggerland was not alone. Ancient coastlines around the world were submerged as sea levels rose. Other places were covered by changing rivers, shifting sands, earthquakes, or volcanic material. Some may still contain the remains of settlements. Others preserve only scattered traces. Not every unusual shape beneath water is a ruin. Natural stone can resemble walls and roads. Claims of lost cities must be studied carefully. Mystery does not become smaller when evidence is respected. It becomes clearer. A submerged landscape does not need temples or impossible machines to inspire wonder. It is enough to know that people stood where waves now move. That children once followed paths beneath what is now open water. That an entire geography can pass out of human experience and remain only as fragments beneath the sea. From the drowned plains of Doggerland, the journey turns toward forests. Forests conceal cities differently. Roots enter stone. Leaves gather in courtyards. Soil forms over abandoned platforms. Trees rise from roads and plazas until human-made shapes begin to resemble natural hills. For a long time, dense vegetation made many ancient landscapes difficult to understand in their full scale. A temple might be visible while the wider city remained hidden around it. Modern tools such as LiDAR can help reveal subtle patterns beneath the canopy. Roads, terraces, reservoirs, Canals. Raised foundations. These shapes must still be carefully examined on the ground. But in places such as Angkor, they have helped reveal an urban landscape far larger and more complex than its famous stone temples alone. Near Angkor in Cambodia, roads, reservoirs, canals, neighborhoods, embankments, and sacred buildings extended across a broad region. Many ordinary homes were built from wood and other materials that did not endure. When those structures disappeared, the temples remained, giving only a partial impression of the city that had once surrounded them. Angkor did not simply vanish. Its transformation unfolded over time. Political power shifted. Water systems faced pressure. Trade changed. Periods of conflict and environmental difficulty altered the landscape. People continued to live in the region. The temples remained places of meaning. But much of the enormous urban world grew quieter. Forest entered the city. Roots wrapped themselves around stone. Rain gathered in old channels. Birds crossed courtyards once filled with human voices. The city did not leave the earth. The earth entered the city. And beneath the canopy, older patterns remained. A straight embankment beneath trees. A reservoir reflecting the sky. A road leading toward a neighborhood whose houses have vanished. The monuments are only the most durable pieces. The full civilization once lived in the spaces between them. In wooden homes. Gardens. Markets. Workshops. Boats moving through canals. Children walking paths no longer visible beneath the forest floor. This is why a ruin can mislead us. The stone temple survives and appears to stand alone. But the civilization was never only stone. It was movement. Water. Food. Labor. Conversation. Memory. The city existed within relationships that left far lighter traces. Some of those relationships disappeared. Others continued in nearby communities and later traditions. A place may be forgotten by distant historians while remaining known to the people who live beside it. A ruin may be new to an archaeological map but ancient in local memory. Its meaning may survive in a place name, a path, a story, or a warning connected to the land. Such traditions are not always precise historical records. Stories change as they pass through generations. But they remind us that discovery does not always mean finding something no one knew. Sometimes it means learning to recognize what another community never entirely forgot. From Göbekli Tepe to Pompeii, from the Indus cities to Doggerland and Angkor, the pattern changes, yet the deeper movement remains the same. Stone is covered by soil. Streets are sealed beneath ash. Cities become dry mounds. Landscapes enter the sea. Forests grow across roads and reservoirs. No single force buries every civilization. Time has many methods. Wind. Water. Roots. Mud. Fire. Rebuilding. Forgetfulness. And sometimes simple continuation. A new house rises above the old one. A road is repaired. A temple is rebuilt. The earlier world remains below, pressed gently into darkness by the weight of later life. Do civilizations truly disappear? Or do they become harder to see? Their people may move. Their descendants may remain. Languages change. Stories enter new traditions. Stones are reused. Old roads guide newer roads. A civilization may not vanish like a light going out. It disperses. Some parts continue. Some are forgotten. Some wait beneath the earth. This is why lost civilizations must be approached with care. Archaeology has revealed societies older, larger, and more complex than earlier generations understood. But it does not prove that every legend describes an advanced hidden empire. Evidence matters. A wall must be studied. A date must be tested. A natural formation must not be called architecture merely because it appears unusual. True mystery does not begin when evidence is ignored. It begins when evidence is allowed to speak without being forced into a more dramatic story. Göbekli Tepe matters because the pillars exist. Pompeii matters because its streets and homes preserve ordinary life. The Indus cities inspire wonder because their bricks, wells, seals, and water systems remain. Doggerland matters because geology and archaeology reveal a real drowned landscape. Angkor matters because beneath the forest lies the pattern of an immense human world. None of these places needs exaggeration. The earth is already deeper than we imagined. Many sites remain only partly studied. Some ruins lie beneath modern buildings and may never be opened. Ancient shores remain below the sea. Forests conceal settlements. Rivers hide old surfaces beneath layers of mud. Countless small communities left few durable traces. The unknown past is not empty. It is simply unrecorded. Imagine the earth at night. Modern cities glow beside rivers and coasts. Roads form bright threads between them. From above, the present seems to cover everything. But beneath those lights are older patterns. Roman roads. Bronze Age paths. Ancient river crossings. Drowned coastlines. Forests that no longer exist. Grasslands that became deserts. Plains that became sea. Every city may rest upon an older choice. A safe hill. A river crossing. A spring. A sheltered harbor. A fertile valley. One settlement is abandoned. Centuries later, another rises nearby. Its builders may know nothing of the first. Still, they choose the same place. The landscape remembers what people forget. The past is buried not only by catastrophe. It is buried by continuation. By living. Building. Repairing. Beginning again. An archaeologist may stand inside a trench as evening approaches. Above are the sounds of a modern town. Traffic. Closing doors. A distant voice. Below is the wall of a house abandoned thousands of years ago. The wall is fragile. For centuries, burial protected it. To uncover the past is also to expose it. Every layer must be recorded. Every object must be understood in relation to the things around it. A pot found alone tells one story. A pot beside a hearth, beneath a collapsed roof, tells another. Context connects fragments with meaning. Without it, even beautiful objects can become silent. Not every hidden place should be opened quickly. Some are preserved for future methods. Some rest beneath modern homes. Some are too fragile. The unknown is not always asking to be uncovered. Sometimes patience is the only way to keep it safe. Beneath the stars, the earth appears still. Fields darken. Rivers reflect the moon. Forests settle into night. Waves move over drowned coastlines. Below them are surfaces where people once stood. A village beneath a meadow. A market beneath a street. A harbor beneath the sea. A road beneath a road. A temple beneath a temple. A hearth beneath the roots of a tree. Humanity's deepest memories are scattered through landscapes. In dust. Stone. Pollen. Ancient fires. Changing rivers. Tools dropped beside vanished shores. Walls no one remembers building. We call some of these places lost cities. But perhaps they were never lost to the earth. The earth kept them. Quietly. Palaces and kitchens entered the same darkness. There they rested while new worlds formed above. The wind crosses Anatolia. It passes over the pillars of Göbekli Tepe. It moves through Pompeii, where stone remembers the pressure of wheels. It crosses the dry streets of the Indus cities. Farther north, waves roll above Doggerland. In Cambodia, forest roots hold the roads and reservoirs of Angkor. Modern life continues upon the uppermost layer. We build, bury pipes, repair streets, place foundations into ground already filled with memory. Most days, we do not consider what lies beneath us. The surface feels complete. But below a home may be a field. Below the field, a village. Below the village, a camp beside an old river. Below that, a shoreline from a colder age. Somewhere beneath a field, a street, a forest, or the quiet sea, there may still be a doorway no one has opened for thousands of years. Not an entrance to an impossible empire. Not proof of a hidden theory. Simply the doorway to another human life. A room where someone rested. A wall beside which someone waited. A floor worn smooth by familiar footsteps. Nothing supernatural. And yet almost beyond imagination. Because that ordinary room belonged to a complete world. A world of names, worries, laughter, habits, and memory. A world that disappeared from ours while remaining beneath it. Tonight, as the surface grows quiet, humanity stands above countless such places. Some have been found. Some are known only through faint traces. Some may never be uncovered. And some are still waiting beneath landscapes whose oldest memories remain hidden in the ground. ##. There is a reason people leave their names behind. They press them into clay. Carve them into stone. Write them on paper. Place them above doors, beneath portraits, and inside family records. A name is small. Only a sound. Only a pattern of marks. Yet people have always treated names as vessels. A name can carry someone beyond the room they occupied, beyond the streets they knew, and beyond the generation that heard their voice. Perhaps this is why forgotten names feel so moving. An archaeologist may uncover a few signs carved into stone. No treasure. No crown. Only a name. But suddenly, someone returns. Not completely. We cannot hear their laughter or know their private thoughts. Yet they are no longer entirely absent. They were here. Civilizations preserve memory in many forms. A family tells an old story. A child learns a song. A traveler draws a map. A grave is tended. A book is copied. Each act forms a small bridge between one generation and the next. But memory does not always preserve what people expect. A monument created to last forever may crumble. A private letter, discarded and forgotten, may survive after the palace is gone. A statue may lose its face. A simple clay cup may remain unbroken. History is filled with quiet reversals. The things intended to endure do not always endure. The things never meant for the future sometimes become its clearest windows. In museums, fragments rest beneath soft light. A comb. A bowl. A shoe. A child's toy. They appear still, yet each once belonged to a living world. The comb passed through someone's hair. The bowl was lifted by human hands. The toy rested on a floor where a child once played. Museums do not hold the past itself. They hold survivors. For every object preserved, countless others have vanished. For every person represented, millions left no recoverable trace. We see temples because they were built from stone. We see rulers because rulers carved their names. But most people lived in lighter buildings. They spoke words that were never written. They sang songs that vanished with the last person who remembered the melody. Much of history was made from wood, cloth, gesture, breath, and sound. Almost all of it has returned to silence. And still, something remains. Not enough to restore every life. Enough to remind us those lives existed. Perhaps the deepest reason people preserve memory is love. We remember because someone mattered. A parent repeats the story of a grandparent. A family keeps an ordinary object because it belonged to someone now gone. A community remembers an old house, a tree, a path, or a place beside a river. These memories tell us that life did not begin with us. Someone prepared the ground before we arrived. Someone taught us the words we use. Someone built the doorway through which we entered. No generation begins with nothing. Children inherit languages they did not create. They follow roads laid out before their grandparents were born. They live among customs, laws, stories, and boundaries inherited from older worlds. Even when a society believes itself completely new, its foundations are filled with the past. A new city follows an older river. A new building borrows the shape of an earlier age. A new story repeats a pattern older than writing. The past often survives most deeply when it no longer feels like the past. It becomes habit. It becomes landscape. It becomes simply the way things are. Civilizations also preserve memory because memory gives shape to identity. Societies tell stories about their beginnings. A founder. A migration. A sacred mountain. A great river. A lost homeland. These stories help people ask who they are and what they owe to those who came before. They are not always intended as precise historical records. They may hold symbolic meanings or distant memories reshaped through generations. Many cultures also remembered earlier worlds. Lost kingdoms. Former peoples. Lands changed by floods, droughts, cold, or rising seas. These traditions belong to different cultures and periods. They are not proof of one forgotten global civilization. Yet they invite a gentle question. Why do people so often imagine other worlds before their own? Perhaps because they encounter ruins. A community sees walls whose builders are unknown. A farmer finds shaped stone beneath the soil. Travelers cross an abandoned settlement. The ruined place invites a story. Its builders may become giants because the walls seem impossibly large. They may become heroes because their age feels distant. Ruins encourage imagination to fill silence. But ruins also reveal something simpler. The world changes. Rivers move. Coastlines retreat. Buildings fall when no one repairs them. Names fade from memory. Morning mist drifts through an abandoned temple. Grass rises between old paving stones. A river flows past a city whose language no one now speaks. Birds nest within walls once watched by guards. The world continues around the ruin, calmly and without explanation. The world has not always been as it is now. And it will not remain this way forever. Memory itself changes as it travels. A family story may preserve a real person, though its details soften. A legend may contain traces of an event reshaped through retelling. A myth may combine landscape, symbolism, and distant experience. Sometimes stories appear to meet archaeology. A tradition may point toward an old place. A remembered journey may resemble evidence of migration. But resemblance is not proof. Stories do not pass through time like sealed containers. They grow. They respond to new listeners. A story is not a stone tablet. It is a river. Each teller receives it from upstream and carries it onward. Some details settle. Others drift away. Writing created another path for memory. Words fixed on clay, papyrus, parchment, or paper could travel beyond the lives of their writers. A reader might encounter them centuries later. Sometimes millennia later. Writing created a conversation with the dead. Yet written memory is fragile too. Not every language was recorded. Not every text was copied. Some scripts became unreadable. Some books survived only because a single copy rested in a dry room. Others disappeared because no one copied them again. A book does not need to be deliberately destroyed to vanish. The last copy may simply rest on a shelf. No one opens it. The room is cleared. An entire voice leaves the human conversation. Modern civilization has created more records than any earlier society could have imagined. Messages, photographs, videos, maps, scientific data. Billions of ordinary moments preserved as image and sound. It seems impossible that so much could disappear. Perhaps much of it will survive. But digital memory depends upon machines, energy, formats, maintenance, and knowledge. A clay tablet can rest in darkness for thousands of years and remain readable if its script is understood. A digital file may become inaccessible when the system needed to open it disappears. Every age trusts its materials. Every age discovers their limits. Memory survives only when someone continues carrying it forward. A monument must be maintained. A language must be taught. An archive must be protected. A story must be told again. The dead can leave messages. Only the living can keep them audible. And no civilization can preserve everything. Future people may understand our roads and towers while missing our private lives. They may recover silent devices without knowing the thoughts once carried through them. They may find a room without knowing who waited there, what music played, or what hopes were attached to the future. Archaeology can reveal how people built, ate, worked, and adapted. But it cannot restore every inner world. This need not feel sad. Something does not have to last forever to possess value. A song matters even if it is sung only once. A home can be loved even if its walls later fall. A city can be meaningful even if another city eventually stands above it. The temporary is not the same as the meaningless. Ancient people did not live merely to become evidence. They lived for one another. For meals beneath evening light. For rest. For the return of a traveler. For rain upon dry ground. The fact that their worlds change does not diminish those moments. Perhaps civilizations are not only monuments. Perhaps they are ways of living together. Ways of sharing water. Exchanging knowledge. Remembering the dead. Teaching children what the world means. Such patterns may last for centuries. Then rivers shift. Trade routes move. Languages mingle. The old order slowly changes. What historians later call collapse may have felt like a long season of adaptation. Civilizations often change more like shorelines than falling towers. A little ground is lost. A new channel opens. A harbor fills with silt. One generation notices something familiar becoming rare. The next grows up without it. There may be no final citizen who closes the last gate. Only people carrying pieces forward. A craft. A ritual. A memory. A language changing within their mouths. Civilizations do not always die. Sometimes they become ancestors. A road is followed after its builders are forgotten. A word survives after its original language is gone. A symbol remains while its meaning changes. We carry forgotten civilizations within our habits, even when we no longer know their names. Could humanity, then, be one of many forgotten civilizations? The answer depends upon what we mean. There is no reliable evidence that modern humanity is the latest in a sequence of identical, technologically advanced global civilizations extending into the remote past. Ancient societies were shaped by the tools, knowledge, and environments of their own times. They are extraordinary without being transformed into something they were not. Göbekli Tepe does not need electricity to be astonishing. The Indus cities do not need impossible machines to deserve wonder. The evidence tells a richer story. Human beings repeatedly created complex worlds with the knowledge available to them. They watched nature. Shared skills. Solved problems. Adapted. built places later generations struggled to understand. The mystery is not that they possessed our technology. It is that human creativity has always taken so many forms. Yet our own civilization may still become one of many forgotten worlds. No social order remains unchanged forever. Cities shift. Languages evolve. Technologies are replaced. Landscapes alter the possibilities of life. Future people may inherit parts of our world. They may repair what we built. Reject some of it. Rediscover other pieces. Perhaps our languages will become ancient speech. Perhaps our maps will show coastlines no longer present. Perhaps our towers will survive only as foundations. We cannot decide exactly how the future will remember us. But we can choose what kind of ancestors we try to become. The past reminds us that continuity requires care. Water systems need maintenance. Knowledge needs teaching. Communities need cooperation. Memory needs guardians. Civilizations flourish within environments, not above them. Rivers support cities. Rain feeds fields. Roads depend upon workers. Markets depend upon trust. A civilization may appear strongest in its monuments. Its true strength lies in relationships. Ruins preserve the palace, but not the fields around it. The temple remains, but the songs are silent. The road survives, but the travelers are gone. The life of a civilization existed between its structures. In movement. Exchange. Memory. Trust. Yet ruins do not speak only of loss. They also speak of resilience. After cities declined, people built elsewhere. After coastlines changed, communities moved inland. After old scripts were forgotten, new languages carried human thought. People reused fallen stones. Repaired canals. Planted abandoned fields. Turned palaces into homes. The new world was built from fragments of the old. People build. People flourish. People forget. People begin again. But history is not a perfect circle. Each return is different. Perhaps it is more like a path winding around a mountain. It returns to familiar views, but never from exactly the same place. Old questions appear in new forms. How should water be shared? How should knowledge be preserved? How should the dead be remembered? Each civilization inherits unfinished answers from those before and leaves new questions for those who follow. This may be the long conversation between civilizations. One leaves a road. Another follows it. One writes a story. Another changes its ending. The dead leave traces. The living decide what they mean. No world begins on empty ground. There is always a before. And beyond that before, another. The traveler returns at evening. Once more, the abandoned city rises beneath a quiet sky. Long shadows cross streets covered in grass. Rainwater shines in cracks along the road. The air smells of wet stone and leaves. At the center of a broad square stands a weathered monument. Its face has been softened by wind. Words remain on its base, but the traveler cannot read them. Perhaps no living person can. Roots lift the paving stones. Small flowers grow between them. Birds disappear through windows that once looked down upon crowded streets. The traveler enters a building whose roof has partly fallen away. Long halls stretch into shadow. Empty shelves line the walls. Perhaps this was a library. An archive. A place where people stored the memory of their world. Beneath fallen stone, the traveler finds a damaged book. Most of its pages have dissolved. Only one image remains. A city beneath lights. Crowds moving through streets. Towers bright against the night. The same city. Alive. The traveler stands in silence. Outside, the towers are broken and dark. Inside the book, they shine. For a moment, two ages touch. Perhaps this is all any civilization can ask of the future. Not to be perfectly understood. Not to remain unchanged. Only to leave some small sign that the silence was once filled with life. The traveler carries the book outside. Forest has entered the city from every side. Trees grow inside old structures. Grass covers bridges. Birds nest in rooms where lights once burned. The world has not ended. It has changed owners. The city now belongs to rain, wind, roots, wings, and patient seasons. Stone settles. Metal rusts. Leaves gather inside empty halls. The boundary between ruin and nature slowly disappears. The traveler follows a road leading away from the center. Long ago, traffic moved there without pause. Now the only sound is wind passing through grass. The road climbs toward higher ground. From there, the city can be seen in full. Towers rise like weathered cliffs. The river reflects the first stars. Moonlight settles upon broken glass. The city appears vast. And small. Vast in human effort. Small beneath the horizon. The traveler rests beneath a tree. Its roots pass through asphalt and into older soil. Below may be pipes. Below those, foundations. Below the foundations, traces of an earlier town. Below that, a field. And beneath the field, perhaps another settlement no one in the city ever knew existed. One human life rests above countless others. Similar stars were watched from Uruk. From the Nile. From Indus courtyards. From Maya plazas. From Roman roads. From Doggerland before the sea arrived. People looked upward and felt the presence surrounding them. Some of their names survived. Others vanished. Perhaps permanence was never civilization's true achievement. Perhaps the achievement was connection. To build something another person could use. To preserve knowledge another generation might need. To create beauty for eyes not yet born. To add one voice to the conversation. We are not the first people to feel modern. We are not the first to build cities, observe stars, preserve stories, or imagine the future. The forms change. The impulse is ancient. To belong. To remember. To reach beyond one lifetime. The traveler rises. Mist moves through the city. The ruins no longer seem abandoned. They seem asleep. Perhaps someone will someday uncover the lower streets. Perhaps they will understand a fragment of our language. A poem. A letter. A child's drawing. Or perhaps the city will remain silent. The towers will fall. Roots and soil will cover the roads. The city will become a mound. Then a hill. Then a place crossed without notice. Even this would not erase the lives lived there. Reality does not depend upon being remembered forever. People loved within this city. They watched seasons move through its streets. They imagined futures. Even if every name disappears, those moments were real. The traveler continues along the road. Grass brushes softly against their legs. Birds settle among the distant towers. The moon rises, pale and quiet. Perhaps this city was not the end. Perhaps it was simply another chapter in a much older human story. A world built above forgotten worlds. A civilization that believed it stood at the beginning, while beneath its feet rested the dreams of those who once believed the same. Somewhere ahead, there may be another settlement. Another language. Another people beginning again. They may remember the city. They may turn it into legend. They may carry one true memory within a story changed by time. The conversation will continue. Broken. Changed. Never complete. Wind moves quietly through the empty streets. Grass grows over forgotten roads. Birds nest where towers once stood. Rivers flow past cities whose names have disappeared. Stone returns to dust. Dust becomes soil. And from the soil, new life rises. Perhaps history is not a straight line. Perhaps it is a long conversation between civilizations, each believing it is the first, while quietly walking across the memories of those who came before.